I woke up to the world holding its breath. At first, I thought it was a dream. Birds frozen mid-flight, cars suspended in the middle of streets. Even the wind had stilled as if nature itself had paused. My alarm clock ticked normally, my phone buzzed with notifications, but outside my window, the city was frozen, trapped in an eternal instant. Panic surged, but quickly turned into fascination. I stepped onto the sidewalk, hearing only the echo of my own footsteps, the rhythmic sound unnervingly loud in a world otherwise mute. People were frozen mid-motion. A woman dropped her coffee. A man tilted in the act of waving at a friend. A child paused mid-laugh. Time had stopped for everyone except me. I realized the enormity of the situation only gradually. I could move, breathe, think, and even speak. The world had become my stage, and I was its lone actor. Yet as the initial awe faded, anger rose in me, a slow, simmering fury. This was the perfect opportunity. For years, I had been overlooked, humiliated, betrayed by those who wielded power and influence in ways I could never match. Now, the universe, or whatever had caused this, had granted me absolute freedom. I returned to my apartment, eyes scanning for signs of normalcy. Nothing. Phones frozen mid-text, television screens paused mid-scene, the city trapped in a suspended reality. I sat at my desk, hands shaking, thinking of him, my former boss, the man who had ruined me, destroyed my career, and humiliated me in front of colleagues with his casual cruelty. For years I had fantasized about revenge, powerless to act, and now, for the first time, I had the upper hand. I tested it first on small things. I moved objects around, pulled coins from air mid-fall, even walked through streets, careful to avoid altering anyone's physical position too drastically. Everything obeyed me. I could interact with the environment, but not with the frozen people, like the world was a stage and everyone else actors trapped in mid-scene. Then I focused on my target. He lived 2 blocks away, an arrogant figure, striding through a busy square when time had stopped. I studied him, analyzing years of grudges, slights, and humiliations. A plan formed in my mind, meticulous and patient. If I was going to act, I had to think beyond simple satisfaction. This was my moment to dismantle everything he had built, exposing him in a way he would never recover from, without ever risking myself. I moved closer, walking among frozen crowds. I entered his office building with ease, the security guard suspended mid-step, the receptionist frozen mid-gesture. Every second, every movement was mine alone. I opened drawers, rifled through files, and found the leverage I needed. Financial documents, personal correspondence, contracts he had manipulated to cheat employees, even proof of affairs and betrayals he thought were invisible. For the first time, I held absolute power over the man who had tormented me. Hours passed in this frozen world, but I felt the thrill building inside me. Revenge, I realized, was not just a moment, it was an art form. It required precision, creativity, and timing. I began planning, carefully crafting scenarios to humiliate him, expose him, and make him pay for every slight. This was more than justice. This was poetic retribution, a masterpiece written in silence. Yet even in my solitude, I noticed a subtle detail, a watch on his wrist, ticking in rhythm to my heartbeat, completely frozen. It reminded me that even though time had stopped for everyone else, consequences were real. I could not act recklessly. Every move had to be measured. I mapped the entire building, noting the locations of cameras, computers, personal files, and, most importantly, his private secrets. Every detail mattered. By nightfall, I had assembled the perfect arsenal. I could manipulate documents, rearrange files, and plant evidence in a way that would, once time resumed, ensure he was exposed in the most complete and humiliating manner. But I also wanted something personal, something that would reflect all the years of small cruelties he had inflicted on me. A note, a small but unforgettable signature of my presence in his downfall. I took a moment to sit back, the frozen city sprawling before me in surreal silence. This was unprecedented. The world was mine to move through, yet my conscience whispered a warning. Power like this, even in the name of revenge, was intoxicating. I had to remain precise, restrained, strategic. One misstep could ruin everything. And then I saw her. A coworker, someone who had once been my friend but betrayed me for personal gain. She was frozen mid-laugh, a cruel reminder of every manipulation and backstab I had endured. My anger flared, but I forced it into focus. Every target, every move, every humiliation had to be deliberate. Chaos for chaos's sake would ruin my masterpiece. Hours turned into a day in my own perception, and I worked tirelessly, assembling the evidence, writing notes, planting digital traps, and setting the stage. Every document I touched, every file I altered, would later reveal the truth, dismantling reputations and leaving no room for denial. This was not just revenge, it was inevitable justice. Finally, I paused, looking at the city frozen in time. The sun was dipping below the horizon, casting long shadows over still cars and unmoving pedestrians. My heart raced. The moment of reckoning was near, and the satisfaction of power was electric. Time would resume, and with it, the world would awaken, unaware of the careful precision I had applied during their silence. I whispered to myself, "When the world moves again, you'll see what it means to cross me." The world outside remained a sculpture, perfect, silent, unmoving, as I walked through the city like a ghost rewriting destiny. My heartbeat was the only rhythm left in existence, each thud echoing louder in the stillness. I didn't know how long time would stay frozen, but I knew one thing: whatever I planned had to be flawless. Revenge was not just about striking back, it was about being undeniable, untraceable, absolute. I stood in my ex-boss's office again, staring at his frozen expression. He had been mid-stride, a smug smile plastered on his face, the same smile he wore when he fired me in front of the entire team, claiming I was incompetent and lacked professionalism, while hiding the truth that he had stolen my work for months. Now, that same smirk made my determination burn hotter. His laptop was open on his desk, frozen mid-email. I gently moved his hands aside and accessed his files. There were folders full of theft, reports he claimed he wrote, ideas he said he developed, proposals he took credit for. My name had been wiped clean from all history, but I wasn't here to reclaim my past. I was here to destroy his future. I copied every piece of incriminating evidence onto a flash drive. Then I went deeper: bank statements, offshore accounts, shell companies, bribery notes. He was involved in things far bigger than I knew. Corruption, fraud, laundering. It wasn't just about me anymore. This man didn't deserve a downfall. He deserved collapse. I arranged his files so that once time resumed, everything would fall into place like a domino chain. His emails would send automatically. His drafts would auto-forward. His passwords would fail as security systems locked him out. Evidence would scatter through company servers like shrapnel. And all of it would lead back to one truth. He built his empire on lies, and those lies had finally turned sharp. I left a single sticky note on his desk, not with my name, but with a sentence he once told me: "Every action has a consequence." Next, I headed to the office floor where my old coworkers sat frozen. The same desks where they whispered behind my back. The same faces who laughed with him when he humiliated me. Each person had played a part in my downfall. Some were simply complicit. Others were active participants. I wouldn't destroy their lives the way they helped destroy mine, but I would make sure their masks fell off. I moved from cubicle to cubicle. One colleague who had spread rumors about me, I opened her email and scheduled every private chat she'd had with clients to send straight to HR. She had hidden deals for months. Another, who took credit for my presentations, I sent a confession from his drafted notes to the entire team. The friend who betrayed me for a promotion, I arranged for her secret chat logs with my boss to attach to the morning meeting's agenda. I didn't hurt anyone. I just revealed who they really were. Truth was a weapon more powerful than any revenge. As I moved through the frozen office, a strange sensation tugged at me, like a pulse in the air, a ripple in the stillness. I turned. Everything was still frozen, yet for a millisecond, I thought I felt time tremble. It was a warning. Time wouldn't stay frozen forever. So I worked faster. I went home, planned the final steps, and walked through the silent streets once more. It was night, but every light was frozen. Car headlights slicing through the darkness like glowing spears, neon signs suspended mid-flicker, a police siren unmoving in the sky. The world was a photo, and I was the only motion within it. As I walked, I noticed something strange. A pigeon was hovering in the air, not frozen in the stiff, statue-like way everything else was. Its wings were slightly blurred, as if caught between moments. I narrowed my eyes. The pigeon twitched. Barely. But it moved. Time was preparing to restart. That meant my plan had to be complete before the universe clicked back into motion. I hurried toward my ex-boss's penthouse, my final destination. His house was immaculate, expensive, built on fraud. Inside, I searched every drawer, every safe, every folder. Evidence of crimes littered every corner of his luxurious life. But then I found something unexpected. Something that didn't belong to his sins. A photograph. A woman I had never seen. Standing beside him. Smiling warmly. Her eyes looked eerily familiar. Not because I knew her, but because her eyes were just like mine. A chill ran through me. The back of the photo had handwriting. For our daughter. One day you'll understand. Daughter? His daughter? Who? Where? My brain raced, confusion hitting harder than anger ever had. I had come here for revenge. I had come here to destroy him. But I hadn't come here expecting a secret that connected to me. My breath shook. The world around me trembled again, time pulling itself back together. The pigeon outside fluttered more. Lights flickered slightly. I didn't have answers. I didn't have time. I stuffed the photo into my pocket and rushed out of the penthouse just as the air around me shivered, as if the universe were inhaling in preparation. My revenge was ready. My traps were set. My enemies exposed. But now there was something deeper, something personal in a way I had never imagined. I ran back toward the city streets as the frozen world began to glow faintly. And just before I reached my apartment door, a sound split the silence. A single, tiny sound. Tick. The first second of the universe beginning again. And I realized everything I planned was about to ignite. The sound of that single tick was like a knife sliding through the silence. My heart seized. For hours, maybe days, I had walked through a world where nothing moved, where time bent itself around my hatred. But now the universe was inhaling again. Waking up. I felt it before I saw it. The air vibrated. Lights flickered. Shadows stretched by fractions of seconds. Then, a pigeon's wing fluttered. A car's headlights blinked. A leaf, suspended in midair, began to fall. The world was thawing. I sprinted up the stairs, slammed into my apartment, and shut the door just as the frozen city outside groaned back to life. For a moment, everything was disorienting, voices overlapping, footsteps resuming, engines roaring, as if every paused motion was now trying to make up for lost time. Hundreds of seconds returned in a single breath, and then normalcy, or what looked like normalcy. My chest pounded. My traps were set. My revenge was stalking its targets like a silent storm. But that photo in my pocket, the woman with eyes like mine, burned against my skin. For our daughter, one day you'll understand. Those words replayed like a haunting riddle. Daughter?
Who was she talking about?
Who was the our? And why did this photo sit hidden in the house of the man I hated most? Before I could unravel it, my phone vibrated violently. A notification. Then 2. Then 20. Then a flood. Emails. Company alerts. Internal memos. Security flags. Every domino I had set was falling. I clicked the first notification. Urgent. Suspicious activity detected on Director Harris's account. Second. Confidential files auto-sent to board members. Investigating breach. Third. HR alert. Employee misconduct. Ongoing investigation triggered by mass email leaks. A slow smile formed on my lips. It had begun. Then a message appeared in the company's group chat. Harris himself. Everyone stay calm. There's been a system glitch. IT is investigating. Do not respond to any emails. Glitch?
No, director.
This wasn't a glitch. This was justice sculpted in silence. Minutes later, another alert popped up, the one I'd been waiting for. Board of Directors meeting, immediate attendance required. I slipped on my coat, ignoring the adrenaline shaking my hands. This meeting would decide his fate. And though I wasn't part of the company anymore, I could watch from the building lobby. The chaos would spread from floor to floor like a virus. Before leaving, I took the photo out again. I stared at the woman's soft smile, her warm eyes. Something inside me twisted. Not guilt, not regret, something deeper. A memory? A shadow? A whisper I couldn't trace? But time was moving now, and I had no time for riddles. Revenge came first. Answers later. I headed toward the office. The moment I entered the lobby, the chaos hit me like a storm. Phones ringing, employees panicking, security running across the floor. My former coworkers looked frantic, confused, terrified. Then I saw her, Mia, the coworker who once pretended to be my closest friend before betraying me to climb the ladder. She stood near the elevator, hand over her mouth, eyes wide. Her phone buzzed. She read the message. Her face drained of color. I didn't need to guess. Her secret chats with the director. The ones where she mocked me, where she plotted to replace me, where she manipulated clients, had been sent straight to the entire team. She staggered backward, as if the ground beneath her had tilted. I didn't send that, she whispered, voice trembling.
No, Mia.
You didn't. But truth did. I slipped past her silently. Inside the elevator, two employees whispered viciously. Did you see the transfers? Offshore accounts, fake audits, he's done. He tried to blame IT, but they traced the files to his own drive. Music to my ears. When the elevator opened on the 10th floor, the energy shifted. The hallway was deadly quiet. Executives rushed past me toward the boardroom, all wearing expressions of shock, confusion, or anger. Then Harris arrived, my ex-boss. His face was red, sweaty, desperate. Papers in his hand were wrinkled from his tight grip. I stood against the wall, watching him. He didn't notice me. He never noticed me until it was too late. His phone chimed. He froze. Then his eyes widened in horror. Another email had sent. The final one. The one linking him to crimes that could end more than a career. He cursed under his breath and hurried into the boardroom.
The doors closed.
I exhaled slowly. The meeting lasted minutes, though each one felt like an hour. Muffled yelling seeped through the walls. Accusations. Demands.
Shock.
Then, silence. A heavy, suffocating silence. When the door finally opened, Harris walked out different.
Pale.
Hollow.
Broken.
He wasn't fired. He wasn't suspended. He was destroyed. His ID badge was taken. Security walked beside him. His company laptop held like evidence in a crime scene. He passed me.
Stopped.
Stared. For the first time, he saw me. Really saw me. Recognition flickered in his eyes. Not of guilt, not of shame, but something else. Something strange. Something almost fearful. Then he whispered something so quietly, I almost missed it. You have her eyes. My stomach dropped. My pulse stumbled. Who was her? The woman in the photo? His wife? His past?
No. Impossible.
He didn't say anything else. Security led him away, his reputation crumbling behind him like dust. My revenge was complete.
Perfect.
Flawless. But as the boardroom emptied and whispers spread, I felt something inside me shift. A small crack forming in the wall of certainty I had built around myself. His words replayed. You have her eyes. And suddenly revenge didn't feel like the end. It felt like the beginning of something far more dangerous. Something personal. Something tied to a past I didn't know I had. When I left the building, the world was moving normally again. But inside me, something was unraveling. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the photo, stared at it hard, and for the first time since time froze, I was afraid. The city buzzed around me, cars honking, people talking, unaware of the silence that had engulfed them just hours ago. The frozen world, now resumed, looked the same, but I knew better. Everything had changed. The perfect revenge had unfolded like a symphony I conducted alone. My ex-boss's empire had begun to collapse, his allies exposed, his secrets revealed. And yet, a single thread tugged relentlessly at my mind: the photo. Mia's whispered accusations and the cascade of leaked emails had been satisfying, but the image of the woman with my eyes haunted me. Who was she? And why had her photograph been hidden in his private penthouse? I had to know. I returned to his apartment building, now empty except for a few security guards. They didn't recognize me. Time had been my ally, and chaos had masked my presence. I climbed the stairs carefully to his penthouse. The door was slightly ajar, a relic from the chaos of the morning. Inside, the apartment smelled faintly of perfume and expensive cologne, a strange contrast to the tension I felt. The photograph lay on the table where I had left it. I picked it up and examined it again. There was a note on the back: "For our daughter, one day you'll understand." The words were deliberate, intimate, terrifying. Our daughter? I whispered aloud. My reflection in the glossy frame made my pulse race. I had her eyes just like the note said. Could it?
No.
That was impossible. And then I saw it, a small journal tucked behind the stack of financial documents. Its leather was worn, its pages yellowed at the edges. I opened it carefully. The handwriting was familiar, elegant, but with a rigidity I had never seen in mine. My heart stopped. The entries began with love letters, confessions, apologies, and then details of my birth. The truth hit me like a thunderclap. I was his child. The daughter referenced in the note was me. Memories began surfacing, fragments I had pushed aside. Visits to his office as a child, whispered explanations from my mother. A life lived unaware of the man whose cruelty had shaped me professionally. Every humiliation, every betrayal, every moment of anger I had directed at him suddenly twisted into a more complex emotion. This was not just revenge. This was confrontation with the father I had never truly known. The rage I had carried for years collided with confusion, disbelief, and an unexpected pang of grief. The file of my revenge, the frozen world, the emails, the leaks, had been crafted with precision. I had orchestrated his downfall, shattered his life in front of witnesses, and exposed him to the world. But now the personal stakes had shifted. And then I heard it, the softest creak behind me. He was back. Somehow, during the chaos, he had returned. His face was pale, older than the day I first saw him as a tyrant, but his eyes, those eyes met mine. Recognition, fear, and a hint of shame flickered there. It's you, he whispered, voice trembling. I held up the photograph. Who is she? He swallowed hard. You don't understand yet. I made mistakes. I tried to protect you. I thought I was keeping you safe. Safe. I echoed. Every ounce of anger surged again. You ruined my life, my career, my friendships. You humiliated me, stole my work, lied to me my whole life. How is that protection? He flinched. I had to build power. I had to keep enemies away. I didn't want you involved. I couldn't risk your future. Your future? I spat, voice shaking. I've spent years building my own, while you destroyed everything around me. He stepped closer, cautiously. I see that now. But everything I did because I... Stop. My hand shook, the room thick with years of resentment. It doesn't matter. It's too late for explanations. I realized in that moment that revenge had its closure, but it could never fix what had been broken. The office chaos, the public humiliation, the career sabotage, all of it had been dealt with. Yet the father I had never truly known stood before me, vulnerable and human. I dropped the photo on the table. Everything is done. Your empire? Collapsed. Your allies?
Exposed.
Your lies?
Public.
You have nothing left. He nodded slowly, tears welling. I deserve it. Every bit. I turned toward the door, leaving him in the wreckage of his own making. Outside, the city moved on, unaware of the surreal events of the past day. But I didn't leave without one final gesture, a message, a final piece of evidence, left anonymously for authorities. Even as blood ties complicated the narrative, justice had to remain impartial. As I walked into the streets, sunlight falling on my face, a strange calm washed over me. Revenge had been taken. Power had shifted. The world was alive again, oblivious to the fact that for one day, time had bent to my will. And yet, the revelation lingered. My enemy had been my father. My revenge had been perfect, but so had the knowledge that I now carried a legacy, a connection I never asked for. I looked at my hands, shaking slightly, the last remnants of adrenaline fading. The city bustled, traffic roared, and people laughed and argued, unaware of the chaos that had swept through their lives. I smiled faintly, a mixture of relief, grief, and determination. Time had returned. Justice had been served. And I had learned that sometimes revenge is not the end, but the beginning of understanding, of reckoning, and of a life forever changed by secrets long hidden. I folded the photo carefully, placed it in a secure envelope, and whispered softly, "The past is done, but now the future is mine." And as I walked into the moving world, I realized that revenge had freed me, not from him, not from the lies, but from the power he had once held over me. Time had frozen, the universe had bent for me, and I had finally claimed my place, not just as a survivor, but as someone unstoppable. If you loved this thrilling journey of betrayal and revenge, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to future Fate Revenge for more mind-blowing stories.